Hey everyone, what's poppin'? What's tea? It's your girl Spicy Niche, and today we are here to talk about the film The One for Sarah. Now, this just debuted on Netflix yesterday, which is Friday, so let's talk about it. The One for Sarah, in essence, is about a fashion designer who got out of an abusive relationship and is trying to get back on her feet in many ways. She's trying to rebuild her self worth and also get back onto the dating scene. Now, we open the film with her coming back from a really bad date where the guy couldn't even remember her name. And then Kibaru, played by Brother Shaggy, her gate man, doesn't want to let her into the apartment because after 10, they close the gates. Now, after Kibaru closes the gate on her, she tries to hop over the fence instead of going all the way to the front of the compound, which would have been really long for her, especially at that time of the night. Now, when she does this, her dress gets stuck, in which Michael, played by Bussy Franklin, sees her and is laughing at her and taking pictures, but does eventually help her get off of the gate. Now, Lizzie, played by Bimbo Ademoye, is like her best friend, is Sarah's best friend. And she always offers a lending ear and advice and support, just as a best friend would do. Now, when Sarah is trying to get in the gate before Kibaru closes it on one late night coming back from her shop, she slips in the gate and then rips her dress. Now, as she's trying to get back to her compound quickly before anybody sees her, she meets Frank, played by Uzor, and Frank lends her his jacket, and they also exchange contacts. And Sarah is like, I'll dry clean it and I'll get it back to you. One day, when Sarah is in the shop, she ends up seeing Michael, who helped her off of the gate when her dress got stuck again because his sister Vera came into her store to shop. And she doesn't tell Michael her actual name, so he starts calling her Gate Girl or something along those lines. Now, later, she does contact Frank to give his jacket back, and then Frank actually ends up setting up a date for the two of them. Now, they go on this really nice day, really lovely. They both had a good time, and then Sarah goes to the bathroom. But when she comes back, she sees Vera, which is Michael's sister, all over Frank because she's drunk. And, from that, she just assumes that it's another woman that he may have been dealing with. And, she flees from the date and they never speak after that. Now, later on, Michael, who is the guy from the gate, ends up coming to her shop and asking if she would like to collaborate with him, because he is a photographer and, just wants to use her designs and stuff for the models that he's working with. So the two of them do end up having, a business relationship and eventually do end up becoming friends. Now, it's important to mention that Fred and Michael are actually best friends. And so Fred looks at Vera as a sister. But, when Sarah saw that, she just kind of assumed and just fled and never spoke to him after that. Now, as I mentioned earlier, she did have an abuser who has been texting her throughout this whole time, saying, I will find you, you can't hide for long. And he actually does eventually end up turning up and beating her really badly. Now, her abuser is Dere, played by Daniel Etam, and he is currently working with Frank on some type of business deal. But little does Frank know that this is Sarah's abuser. Now, Fred and Michael are best friends, like I said. So Fred doesn't understand what he did wrong. He's been calling Sarah, reaching out to her, but she blocked him. And he doesn't have any idea that, she saw Vera there after she came back from the bathroom. And that Vera is just like a sister to him. So he's going crazy, like wondering what he did wrong. Like he even goes as far as to figure out like where she lives, and things like that. Eventually, Frank does figure out, where she lives because they actually do live in the same compound. He goes to knock on the door, which is when Lizzie answers. This is after Dere, played by Daniel Etam, has abused her. And then, he sees that she's been beaten really badly. But even after that, they don't speak. It's not until one day when she's coming back from a shoot with Michael, and Frank is outside talking to Dere. Michael comes out of the car and is like, this is the guy, sorry, that's been abusing Sarah, punches him and everything. And, even still, after that, Frank and Sarah don't speak. And then it is not until, later one day when Michael and Sarah are coming back from a shoot, Dare comes, hits Michael on the head. And, then, Frank kind of comes to the rescue. They have this like tussle between Dare and Frank and Sarah, but they end up beating up Dare. And in essence, becoming coming to like a happy ever after for all of them. Lizzie ends up dating Michael and Sarah ends up being with Frank. And it's, that's basically the whole plot, sugar and cocoa of the story. Now, if you watched any of my other movie reviews, you see that I do have a criteria so I can give everybody a fair rating across the board. So first, we're going to start out with the plot and storyline. Now, for plot and storyline, I gave them a 0.7 out of 1 star, only because I just don't understand how, so Fred came to her house, after she had been beaten badly by Dare, right? Comforted her until she cried herself to sleep, left her house, and then they still didn't have a conversation after that. Like, to me, I don't know. I just don't feel like that's how this should have been played out. So this guy comes to your house, you tell him, what has happened, you cry, and he just leaves, and you guys still don't speak. You're still mad at him for what happened on you guys' date. Like, I didn't like that, personally. My second category is acting and performances. I gave them a 1 out of 1 star for this category. I think the acting of all these people were really good. It was a really like star-studded cast, beverlynaya, Lucy Franklin, Uzor, like everybody did an amazing job in all the roles that they were playing. So they definitely got their full marks for acting and performances. Now for cinematography, I gave them a 0.6 out of 1. Now, this is why I say this. I just feel like the film, it didn't give that it was shot in 4K, if you know what I mean. Like, it wasn't as sharp as it could have been, and I feel like the lighting in some scenes was a bit dark. For example, when Beverly Naya's character, Sarah, and Frank were walking through the park during their date, you're always supposed to stand directly in front of a light source and not behind. But if you notice during the interaction, there was a light source directly behind beverlynaya. So it was just like, it made the scene really dark, and it was like, they should have repositioned her to stand in front of that light source to brighten up that scene, because the light was very bright. Like, even me, when like her head was right, this is her head, this is the light, I was like, oh, like that kind of hurt my eyes a little bit. But yeah, so 0.6 out of 1 for cinematography. Also, the audio on certain parts was a little bit muffled, kind of like the mic was like, like if I muffle my mic or whatever, it's gonna sound a certain type of way. So the audio was a little bit off in some points. Not to mention that sometimes in some scenes the audio would be playing after the scene has already ended. For example, when Sarah was crying, the scene had already switched to like blue skies, but we could still hear her crying in the background. Like, the audio just wasn't synced all the way to the scenes. Another example is when Dare, Frank, and Sarah were fighting. Michael is like getting off the floor, but we can still hear punching sounds in the background. So I'm just like the audio just wasn't synced to the right scenes at the right time. Do you know what I mean? And I also didn't really like how it's just like the scenes just changed so like drastically. Like, we will go from Sarah and Frank sleeping on the couch together. Next thing you know, she's back at the store. Like, I need some like fluidity in the scenes personally for me. So I gave them a 0.6 out of 1 star for that category, like I said, because there could have been a lot of, improvements just, with the lighting, with the audio, and, with syncing the audio to the right scenes. For entertainment, I gave them a 0.8 out of 1 star. I do genuinely feel like this film did evoke emotion, even out of me. I think a lot of people, can just feel empathy for this character going through this abusive relationship that she's trying to flee from. Whether we've been through it or not. And some of us may even know people who have been through that or not. But either way, I do still feel like they did a really good job of evoking emotion. I genuinely felt bad for Sarah, like as a fellow woman. And yeah, so 0.8 out of 1 star for that category. Now for theme and message, I gave them a 0.6 out of 1 star, only because I just feel like the message was conveyed perfectly, right? The theme, great, right? But I feel like they could have done more with conveying the overall message of the film, because it's just like we go from them beating up Dare, the abuser. There's like no like repercussions for anything that he did. We just kind of skip to present day, like 1 year later, where Lizzie is now with Michael and, Sarah and Fred are not together. So it's just like, what was like there was no real like resolution with the issue. Like, did they lock him up? Like, did he end up just leaving the country and leaving Sarah alone? Like, what was the repercussions for the fact that he abused this girl and he assaulted 2 other people? Like, that part was missing for me. So overall, my rating is a 3.7 out of 5. I feel like it was a good film. I really genuinely did enjoy this film. But I do feel like they could have tried more, like I said, with giving us a more fluid storyline, and changing the scenes a little bit more smoother, and giving like more so, like, I guess, expanding on the storyline. Like I said, like, how can he just abuse this girl, beat up 2 people, and then like we just skip to present day, like we don't see any repercussions, and next thing you know, Lizzie is now with Michael. Like, I wish they would have explored it more. But overall, I do genuinely feel like it was a good film. I was engaged in this film. This wasn't one of those films where I was like, ugh, let me be on Instagram while I'm watching it. Like, no, I was genuinely engaged, and I do feel like, they tried, Shad. They tried. I mean, there was eye candy. They used really good actors throughout the film. I didn't mention, some of the smaller fill-in actors that helped to add to the plot, because I just didn't feel like it was necessary. I said, let's just focus on the main 4 actors in this, 4 or 5 actors in this. But yeah, it was definitely a star-studded film, and I feel like it was a really good job. Now, would I have paid to see this in cinema? No. But would I have watched it on Netflix? Would I watch it again? Yeah. And I feel like for me, like, if I was, in Nigeria and would be able to see most of this film when they debut in cinema, I probably wouldn't. Just because, like, when Legend on Buka debuted here, I went to go see it. But like, for me, if I'm trying to review a film, I like to be able to take my time, watch it, go back, rewind, and do all those kind of things. But this one, I just don't feel like this was worth cinema. Like, your audio doesn't even match your scenes, so I don't know. It gave very much Netflix, like, which was, it's good for them. But I did enjoy the film. There was just a few minor tweaks that could have been done to make it better. You guys, let me know what you guys thought of this film in the comments down below. Did you enjoy it? Because I genuinely did enjoy it, and I genuinely loved each of the actors in this film. And Uzab, see, eye candy galore for me. But you guys can let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. And even for the guys, Beverlynaya is gorgeous. Bimbo Ademoye, all the different actors in these films, in the film, gorgeous women, handsome men. So they did a really good job with that, So, but anyways, yeah, like I said, let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Let me know if there's anything you guys want me to review. I know Jagun premiered also this week, but listen, it's so hard for me to watch a film with subtitles. Like, this is why I don't watch K-dramas. I don't really watch foreign films. Like, Money Heist, I couldn't get with that because I don't want to have to read a screen the whole time I'm watching a film. That is not enjoyment for me. You know what I mean? I stare at a screen reading emails all day. I stare at a screen texting people back, reading their messages, reading books. I read enough. Like, I don't need to also read the film that I'm, watching when I want to recreate. But you know, I heard some really good reviews about it. You guys let me know what you guys thought of that film down below as well. So I might end up watching it, might end up reviewing it. We will see. But anyways, you know, I will see you guys next week for my next movie review. And let me know what's coming out on Prime Video as well. Like, I don't really like the Prime Video Instagram account personally because I don't know what is coming out in the month of August. You know, South Africa on Netflix, Niger on Netflix do a wonderful job of showing you like what is being released this month so you can anticipate it. Regardless if it's Nollywood or not, they show you everything that is going to be released in the month of August. Meanwhile, Prime, it seems like I don't know if they're being sponsored by Basket Mouth or what. The whole page is LOL. Like, I don't know what's coming out this month on Prime, but that's neither here nor there. I will see you guys in my next video. Again, let me know what you guys thought of this film down below, and I will see you next week.